All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And you don't necessarily have to be good at certain things in life in order to enjoy them, right? And this includes things like video games, this includes things like sports. It could literally be anything. All you have to do is just kind of appreciate it, so to speak. And if you do decide to partake in something rather than just to watch, for instance, you can still get better over time. And so, what am I getting at with that? Well, according to somebody who seems to know about what's coming with XDefiant, we will be getting a combat record that is not only functional, unlike what we're getting right now with XDefiant, but we're going to be getting more detailed stats. Now, I don't know about you guys, but ever since the days of 2010, when I first started playing Call of Duty, as a matter of fact, I actually started playing in 2009, but I was late to the show with Modern Warfare 2, but I didn't stick with it too long. And then with Black Ops 1, I played that a shit ton more. And then as time went on, when Black Ops 2 came along, it's like I became a Call of Duty nut after that, right? But anyway, ever since the days of 2010, when I was a complete noob, didn't know what the hell I was doing, didn't know things that were in the game like sound whoring. I didn't know that the FAMAS was the best weapon in the game in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't know there was a YouTube community and stuff like that, or videos that you can look up in order to improve or to see other people's gameplay to see what you can do to make yourself better, et cetera, et cetera. Didn't know about this stuff. And but one of the things that I always appreciated, starting with Call of Duty Black Ops 1, was that combat record. I really wanted to know which weapons I used the most. I really wanted to know how many kills I got with that weapon. I wanted to know how many times I got killed with certain weapon, the streaks, all that kind of stuff. I even found those little map details with the little dots, like red wherever you got killed, blue wherever you got a kill or whatnot, or something like that. That basically gave you detailed stats in terms of which part of the map you get killed on, et cetera, et cetera. It was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people did. And you know why? Because during the golden era of COD, there were more noobs. There were a higher percentage of noobs than there are today. And the reason being is because your average player today has actually gotten better than your average player was back in the days of, like, let's say 2010. It's been 14 years since then, and your average player today has gotten better. The culture has shifted and all that kind of stuff. Plus, there's YouTube, pro gameplay, streaming, and all that stuff. You guys know. I've already made a separate video discussing the subject. But with that being said, we all appreciate the combat record to the point to where they came out with Modern Warfare 3, the original Modern Warfare 3. They came out with this thing called Elite. And what Elite was basically like the combat record, like, to the nth degree, man. It was like a combat record on steroids that gave you all of the all of the kind of stats that you could imagine, right? And in some cases, even in video form or whatnot. And you could even install an app on your phone to change your classes when you're not even at home, et cetera, et cetera. You can even look at the stats on your app and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. And to this day, it is something that even your beginner level player, just like the days of old, back in 2010, they still want to know how exactly they're doing, right? They want to know, maybe things like leaderboards in terms of where they stack compared to the other average player, maybe for the weekly, monthly, daily leaderboards. You guys remember those leaderboards where they had like a weekly, like in Modern Warfare 3, they did a weekly filter, they had a monthly filter and stuff like that. That'd be cool. Or I would even request a daily filter. If they did something like that, that would be great, because a daily filter, it's like, okay, let's see if, because I feel like grinding the game all day today. So it's like, okay, let's see if I could be, the best in this particular game mode for the day, right? Let's see how many tags I pick up or how many kills I get or whatever, right? It is what it is. Like, we nerds, we appreciate this sort of thing, right? And you don't have to be the best player to appreciate that. And as we're in the middle of this commentary, I want to share something with you that Blame Truth kind of retweeted or whatnot, and it caught my eye, and I wanted to share it with you. And it was from a comment that he had mentioned, and I read, and I quote, it says, "Chaps, I'm really enjoying XDefiant. Never really understood how bad skill-based matchmaking actually was. I'm 48, married, kid, full-time job, studying post-grad, part-time, compete in age group triathlon and cycling. Oh yeah, and I'm pretty shit at FPS anyways. So gaming is low on the priority list. Activision thinks that skill-based matchmaking is made for guys like me, but they're wrong. I genuinely couldn't give a shit about my KD. Played this evening. One game I went 4-16. 2 games later, I was slamming kids and went 38 and 22. What keeps me playing is the fact that I don't know what the next game is going to be like. Am I the hammer or am I going to be the nail? With COD, every game is the exact same thing. I end up with a 1 KD despite the fact that I know I'm generally crap at FPS and should legit be about a 0.6 to 0.7 KD. When I started with XDefiant, I had a 0.2 KD. I upgraded from my 8-year-old Dell Office mouse to a new GPX SL2. I improved. Then I replaced my old GTX 1650 GPU with a new 7900 XTX and went from 28 FPS to over 200 FPS. Once again, I improved. I've been spending time on Kovacs aim training and my aim is getting better. So once more, I'm improving. I'm watching videos for tips and tricks on getting better. I'm watching streamers like Apathy play ranked and see how good players play. All the time, I'm improving. So yeah, they made SBMM for Timmy No Thumbs, dads in front of the 60-inch TV like me. I've got a 240 Hz 1440p monitor, by the way. No TV gaming here. But newsflash, Activision, even low-skilled guys don't want that SBMM trash. So I just thought that was cool. Now, obviously, what made him better was actually not getting the equipment, although going from 30 to 60 or to 120 FPS certainly does help because it makes the game that much more responsive and that much more smooth, especially in today's era in 2024 in terms of, you know, what your average gamer is playing on today compared to what it was yesterday. That does, you know, help with things a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not going to make the night and day difference at all. As a matter of fact, the stuff that makes a night and day difference is what he described after he got some of his new gear. For instance, spending time on Kovacs Aim Trainer, so his aim is getting better, watching videos for tips and tricks on getting better, watching streamers, etc., right? So ultimately, at the end of the day, if that reminds you of anything, for those of you guys that used to really be bad at multiplayer FPS games like myself, right? Back in the day, all of this rings home to me because, well, ultimately what ended up happening with me is that I took very similar steps in order to get better. And what did it for me, what really helped for me was watching YouTube commentators. As a matter of fact, it was a commentator himself that wasn't even that good at the game that actually said a few things that I didn't know about the game that actually made me better. And as soon as I figured that out, and with all the time that I'd already invested in the game and making those subtle changes, all of a sudden everything that was happening on my screen started to change immensely. And all that time that I put into the game ended up being worth it because it's like, okay, my aim was already decent as it was, but it was the way I moved around the map. It was my decision-making skills that sucked. I didn't understand the spawn system. And from this commentator, I understood that. And then when I started watching really good players play, I'm like, that's why he went this way instead of that way. That's why he's picking this attachment over this attachment that lets him get away with this as opposed to getting away with that. Like, it all started to become clear, right? So ultimately, with time, despite the fact that, you know, you don't necessarily have to be good, but still enjoy it. But with time, though, when you put time into it and you enjoy it and you dig in a little bit and try to discover what can make you better, and it doesn't have to be first-person shooters. It could be anything. It could be golf. It could be basketball. It could be, you know, playing poker. Like literally anything, right? You are eventually going to get better. So ultimately, I love that this was posted up here, you know, and the fact that and how this actually contributes to our subject in terms of what we're talking about today with the combat record is that ever since the old days, everybody wanted to know how they stacked in comparison. I mean, because as naturally as human beings, we're competitive. Some of us are just less competitive. Some of us are more. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we still want to know how we're doing, right? No matter what we're doing, we still want to know how we're doing. And then when we improve, we love seeing the results of that improvement, right? I mean, even when you look at, for instance, you know, the amount of money you make, right? If you find out later on that you're making more money and everything's improving, you're continuing to do better, et cetera, et cetera. Just to give you an example here, I mean, it's that much better, right? Like ever since the days of school, for those of you guys that still go to school, it feels good to get a better grade at something that you didn't get a good grade on in the first place, right? So let's say you struggle with math and you were a C-level student or maybe a C- student or maybe even a D student, right? And then all of a sudden you go from a D to a C or a C to a B. Like, that makes you feel good about yourself. It gives you dopamine and it tells you, okay, you're going in the right direction, and it motivates you to get even better, right? Now, ultimately, certain stats are not like the end all be all in terms of improvement, right? Like, pretty much anybody can hold a spot and have their sights aimed down and just don't move at all and not play the OBJ and have a pretty high KD, right? But ultimately, what makes you a better player is the combination of the stats that I personally think indicate whether you're a good player or not. And these stats are, in no particular order, kill-death ratio, but not alone, though. It has to go with all these other stats that I'm going to say. Score per minute, gun accuracy, And there's one more. Kill death ratio, score per minute, gun accuracy. Oh, yes. And win-loss ratio. Those are the 4 stats that matter the most. And believe it or not, out of all these 4, kill death ratio is the one that matters the least. Unless all you play is team deathmatch. Unless all you play is free-for-all. But then, even then, I would still kind of argue to a certain extent. Because remember, a team deathmatch or a free-for-all is a race to the score limit. It's not about, necessarily about who gets the most kills and dies the least. Because if a person can get 30 kills before you get those 30 kills, right? Before you get your 30 kills, you might be, let's say, 20-0 in your kill death ratio in that game. But that one other person that went 30-15, right? Who died 15 times, even though you only died twice, still beat you in that free-for-all because they were able to get to the score limit faster than you. So that just goes to show you how important, how actually kill death ratio is. Although it is important, it's not the end-all be-all. It's all those other things that makes the KD ratio look good. So, for instance, if you have a good KD, but your score per minute is good, your weapon accuracy is good, and your win-loss ratio is good, then that makes your KD ratio that much more, impressive. Because it's like, okay, this guy has a solid KD, but he's also got a good win-loss. He's got good gun accuracy and all that. Some people argue that accuracy means nothing, but I respectfully disagree. I think gun accuracy is a big part of the game. Now, granted, also people that use certain weapons are technically more accurate, or people that are more passive are generally more accurate. But again, like I said, if all these things, surrounding stats, so to speak, if they all kind of match and they're all high, that indicates a good player. So if only one of these stats are high in your combat record, so to speak, then that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good player. It's all those stats in combination that indicate. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to mention this, and I wanted to share with you because I thought it was really cool. And at the same time, it was kind of really nice to go back into memory lane and just talk about Black Ops 1 and the Modern Warfare 3 days with Elite and all that stuff. So we're going to be getting an updated combat record with more updated stats, probably leaderboards and a couple of other things in the game. So I just wanted to mention that it is coming. And I wanted to also mention that, that was a really cool tweet that I saw that Blame Truth put up, and I'm glad he did. So it's really good. And also shout out to you guys in the comment section, because there's even a couple of you guys in my videos over the last God knows how many months that have mentioned that, hey, I'm an average player here and I hate SBMM, things like that. You guys have mentioned that to me. So, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys have mentioned that you've been improving as well. And despite the fact that, that you may be struggling as well, you're still enjoying the game, despite the fact that you're an average player. You don't care. You're still enjoying it, and that's what counts. And ultimately, all I have to say, if you're one of these guys that have said something like that to me, I tip my hat to you. I tip my hat to you absolutely, because what truly makes a game good, well, one of the biggest factors that makes a game good, and the reason why you game in the first place, is a fun factor, right? Obviously, if you play better, it increases the fun factor normally, mostly. But with that being said, at the end of the day, the foundation needs to be the fun factor. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think, and what you guys think of when it comes to all this stuff. And yeah, that's all I got. Thank you all very much for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.